I've had a huge advantage in life. You might even call it a privilege. Privilege to be the son of my mother, Veronica, and my father, Ray, Raymond Kelly. There he is in the middle with my brother, Jim, on the right, and I'm on the left with the kind of anxious face for some reason. Having a father, it is an advantage, really, for anyone who has a father. Hopefully they're a good dad. It's a real disadvantage if you don't. The statistics back that up. Poverty, crime, incarceration, just about every negative outcome you can think of is associated to not having a father. And in Florida, well, they're doing something about it, something bold, something big, something I haven't seen before. They just passed the Responsible Fatherhood Initiative. It's a provision of the Child Welfare Bill 7065. And here's what it does. It puts serious money, tens of millions of dollars behind such programs as assisting fathers in finding employment, managing child support obligations, transitioning from a period of incarceration, and so on. With fathers, the intended recipients and beneficiaries, and ultimately the children. It's fantastic, it's new, it's bold, and we have, well, our next two guests are, we should thank them. They had a key role in this. Representative Chris Sprowls, he is the Speaker of the Florida House. Welcome, Mr. Speaker. And Jack Brewer, retired NFL football player, entrepreneur, CEO of the Brewer Group. Welcome, gentlemen. And first to you, Jack. I mean, this is a problem we all know about. You know, absentee fathers, AWOL fathers. It happens all too often, and nobody seems to do anything about it. And this is changing that in a big way. Welcome.
It is so glad to be on the show, Greg, and to be, joining my new dear friend, Speaker Sprowls. And I tell you what, you're right. When you look at equity and equality and all the buzzwords that you hear out there from many on the left, it starts and it ends with fatherhood. And all those numbers that you see, those incarceration numbers are real. When I go into the prisons, usually on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, I see these guys that are fatherless. And we look at our education system, you see, we talk about public schools, private schools, and inequalities. Those all point back to fatherlessness. Even sex trafficking and our little girls that are being abused and misused. That doesn't happen as often if there's a hard-handed father in the house looking over their children. And so this bill really has set the precedent, and hopefully will be adapted across the nation. But, right in Florida, where I'm a proud resident, and I work with these kids each and every day, I can tell you that this is a crisis. This is the civil rights issue of our time. And so I applaud Speaker Sprowls and his entire legislation for coming up and unanimously deciding upon a bill of this magnitude. All of Americans should be proud at this moment and hopeful because this is the true hope of the American dream.
Excellent. Speaker Sprowls, thank you. What should we know, and how did this come about? Because again, people talk about this problem. Barack Obama talked about it, and nothing really seemed to happen or change, but you guys are changing it.
Well, I appreciate that, Greg, and Jack really identified the problem. I mean, the first thing is, why does this matter? Why is it important? Those of us who grew up with a dad like you did, Greg, and Jack got to talk about his dad yesterday on the steps of the old Capitol here in Tallahassee. But what we know is that a child who doesn't have a father is more likely to be incarcerated. They're more likely to be depressed, commit suicide, abuse drugs, live in poverty. Really, every significant social ill you can think of can start with an absent father. So what can we do about it to change all that, other than just talking about the problem, like you said, Greg? And what we did in this fatherlessness initiative is invested $70 million in grants for community programs that are specifically reaching out to dads to connect them with their children's lives. Some of those dads are going to be dads who are coming out of prison. Others are just ones who are disconnected or who don't have the tools and know how to be a dad. These organizations meet them, they help them find a job, take care of their childhood obligations of child support, but also to pour into their children. Greg, you showed a picture on the show of you and your dad, and those moments as you're growing up where you have a dad or a foster parent, adopted parent, a male role model who pours into you, tells you they're proud of you, tells you that they believe in you. That is the moment in your life when anything seems possible. That's what this bill is all about, and that's what we seek to achieve here in Florida.
We're seeing you, by the way, Mr. Speaker, with your dad. It looks like he might be a law enforcement officer. Tell us about him if you could.
Yeah, my dad, Joe, he's a retired New York City police officer, served as a homicide detective in the South Bronx. So I got to grow up on the way to school, grow up on cop stories, which certainly influenced me. And I think because of those stories on the way to school, Greg, I became a gang and homicide prosecutor here in Florida. It led to me going to the legislature, fighting for justice, fighting for the rule of law. My dad had an amazingly effect on me, but I can tell you that there was this moment, I was about 15 or 16 years old, where my dad said, I honestly believe that you can do anything that you set your mind to because I've seen you do these things and you've done them better than I did when I was your age. And I remembered in that moment that I felt like Superman. But I also realized as I've grown older and have two young boys of my own that not every child has that opportunity. This bill seeks to find them a mentor, connect them with their dad or foster parent to make sure that they have that same moment that I did that really opened up all the doors and all the possibilities.
That's awesome. I know what you mean about those cop stories. They're awesome. Speaker Sprowls, thank you. We're going to say goodnight to you. We appreciate it so much. Jack, if you don't mind, stick around. We'd like to talk to you about the Super Bowl and a couple of other things, and we also want to know about your dad as well. So we'll see Jack in a moment. Best to you, Mr. Speaker, and we'll be right back.